All right. Hello. Welcome to Talk Investing members only live stream. I think I might have got it right this time. So hopefully you can see me. You can hear me. Hello, George. Hopefully
Hey, guys.
you can see George and hear George. Let us know in the comments if you can't. But I think we're actually good. We'll see what happens. I don't want to jinx it. So
I don't want to jinx it either.
yeah. Massive amount of stuff to go through again today. A lot has happened. We got a few monthly updates, but there was a bunch of other announcements from Bitcoin miners. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world, and I think we are at the very beginning. I think it's official. I think it's on. I think we are at the beginning of the breakout for the Bitcoin miners. I'm going to do that poll first.
I'm just excited, but I'm sick and tired of the fake out. Every single day they fake you out.
Oh, it's exhausting. And it's months and months and years, and it's well, I mean, almost everybody's disappeared from this space. We're the few, the proud that are still here, and I think we're about to get paid off for it. There is one stock, I'll talk about what happened yesterday and today briefly, that is so small I'm not going to follow, but I mean, it had radical moves. Argo blockchain did. I don't even think I left the article open. They were down like 50% yesterday. They're up 96% today, but essentially they're gone. They've sold all of their assets. So the once mighty Argo blockchain, which I know we haven't talked about in a couple of years, but at one point they were one of the originals, right? They were around before Marathon. They were around before Riot. They were back with, Hive and Bitfarms, and their run is now over. Although if you've been day trading them, you may have been making a fortune. And we had a breakout day today for one stock in particular that I have been waiting for, and I feel like today was the day. And I will tell you, I didn't do the trade I wanted to do, and I could have. It would have been perfect timing, but I didn't do it. I'm not going to kick myself. You can't. You got to go with what you did. But I'll tell you why. I'll start right out and just tell you why. First of all, you can see we're down. This is where we closed yesterday. So yesterday was a really nice up day. This dotted line is where we closed on Friday. You can see we gave all of it back and a bunch more. So we're down on the week this week. But the Bitcoin miners, you're going to see when we go look at the chart, the Bitcoin miners they're on their way. So I don't have to do the math. We're down. If you look at IBIT here, Bitcoin was down 2.2% during trading hours today. So that's a significant move to the downside. And yet, almost every Bitcoin miner was green today, and Hive was up 15%. So the two real standouts to me, Hive, which did not do well yesterday, and I'm going to show you yesterday's because I took a screenshot, and then Iron was up almost 4.5%, and that just continues to pound away. Iron has run away from the field. It's crazy. I am still thinking about a trade. It's just one portion of that trade was going to be get out of Bitfarms, get into Hive. And, Hive just went up 15% today. Now, the last 5 or 6 purchases I've made have pretty much been XRP and Hive. So, I'm not kicking myself, but that would have been a really nice, well-timed move, because here's what happened yesterday. Of all things, Bitfarms was up 12.6% yesterday. By the way, this is across the board a big green day yesterday. Hive being the exception. So Hive, I could have gone Bitcoin up 12.6%, Hive 0%. If I had made that switch, then I could have caught the 12% yesterday in Bitfarms, caught the 15% today in Hive. that was the exact moment to make that trade. I've been thinking about it for a week, so I did not do it. So I didn't pick the perfect timing. I may still yet do it even after this because Bitfarms really hasn't given this back, and I do think there's more downward pressure, and I think Hive hasn't even started going where they're going. And you could see yesterday Argo was down 48.6%. We won't even be looking them anymore. And bit.
Maybe you can also explain to me about the big beautiful bill or whatever they keep calling it.
Well, there was
is it passed now everywhere, or is it got to go back to the House?
Got to go back to the House, and I do have an article that there was something they were trying to slip in there for us cryptocurrency people, and I think it was Cynthia Loomis, and it did not make the final cut, and it was super reasonable. I'll go through what it is, but it would have helped, for people who want to use cryptocurrency and buy your cup of coffee with it or whatever the case may be. This bill would have basically meant that those would all be, forgetting, sales tax and that, those would all be not taxable events. You would not have to recognize gains or losses because you bought a cup of coffee or because you bought a new pair of sneakers or whatever the case may be. And that's the legislation she was trying to put through. It was any transaction up to $300 with a total of $5,000 for the year would just be totally exempt. But they kicked it out. So it doesn't mean it's dead forever.
It just doesn't seem like it's, for the people, by the people. It seems like it's for them, by them.
I think that would have been an absolutely unbelievably reasonable. In fact, I think it should have gone a little bit further than that. Those numbers should be bumped up a little. If we're going to be using we don't have to do, it's like having to do a foreign currency exchange and account for it every time you buy something. It's not how it should work. And I do think something like that will ultimately get passed here in the next year. It just didn't get into this bill. They tried to get it in under the wire anyway, and it didn't happen. Alexander, have you sold your iron, Tom? No, I have not sold my iron. It continues to run. It's on a roll. I do have a stop loss, but it's nowhere near that stop loss. I'm thinking about raising it. I'm going to let it run. I'm oh so tempted to get out of there, but I think I'm going to just keep raising my stop loss and so that means I'm not going to try and guess the perfect absolute peak, but when we're going to look at iron's chart, it's out of control. I mean, it's the one thing on here that I would say is overbought right now. And that doesn't mean it won't continue to run, because you guys know when something gets momentum, it can keep going. But it will turn off one day. The switch will turn, and as it has every single time with iron. Every time iron runs like this, bam, 60% pullback. You can almost set your watch by it. So I do not want to participate in that. I've done 4 60% pullbacks in iron. Actually, the first one I got out and got back in. So that was, and I very rarely do stuff like that. But iron just seems to move so much more than all these other ones. And it's really clear on this chart because you can see Riot, CleanSpark, and iron. All three of those were at $9 last week. So if iron wasn't here, you'd go, man, Riot and CleanSpark, unbelievable. They took a $9 to $11 run in a couple of days. That's incredible. The only thing is iron's up to $15. So this was yesterday. I think it's at or over 15 today. So it's gone from 9 to 15 in a few days. I bought it in the 6s. So, it's been, and I only bought it 2 months ago. 2 months and 1 week ago was when I made my big switch, and I'll show you that trade. In fact, we'll go to that right now because this was just good lucky timing. So when I sold all my MicroStrategy on April 23rd. That's the day it got me to break even. I got out, and I show you exactly right here the amount that I put. I put 54.4% of that into Iron, 42.2% into Hive, and 3.4% into Riot. So I'm up 90% on this trade. And had I just left it in MicroStrategy, I'd be up 6.7%. So this one was a big win for me. And I feel like I just missed that. I should have traded the bit farms for Hive, because I feel like similar results are going to occur. So again, I may still think about doing it because it's not too late. Or maybe just take some profits out of Iron, which has run like wild, and move them into Hive, because Hive is still stupidly undervalued in my opinion, every way I look at it, and in comparison to its peers. So this was almost 70 days ago, so just a little over 2 months ago. And I mean, these are, look at Iron's up 146% in that period, and I didn't catch the bottom because it's up a lot more than that in total. I just waited until my MicroStrategy got to break even to do this trade. So let's see. I got a long list of stuff that came out today. Where to start? First, let's look at our poll.
The poll.
First, I'm going to send a message out to the members to remind them we're here.
It's a rough week. Nobody wants to work.
I know.
No, it doesn't even matter. It's a holiday weekend or a week. It's just nobody wants to work. Period.
Oh, no, nobody wants to work any week.
No, it's the weirdest thing. I call it drunk off of COVID money.
Well, I got a couple of things on the Fed, on Jerome Powell versus Trump, on what
Did they pull that out, by the way?
Yeah. Yes, but there's some stuff going on. The pressure is on Jerome Powell. I think, despite indications otherwise, I think we might get a rate cut right now. And when you see what Trump's asking for, you're going to say he's crazy. But when I show you a chart, what he's asking for is actually very reasonable. It won't happen all at once like he's talking about. You want to go through that? Let's go through that before we get to the Bitcoin miners, because to me, the Fed is just they just stink at what they do. It baffles me. So I'll start with this article. Powell isn't taking a July rate cut off the table for the Fed. Now I'm going to jump for just a second. You'll see the Fed future, the CME Fed Watch tool. The futures are still showing almost an 80% chance that we will not get a cut in July. But if I switch that to September, you're going to see this plus this. This is almost a 93% chance that we're going to get at least a 25 basis point cut, if not 50 basis points. Almost nobody thinks we will have left rates alone completely by the September meeting. But I think this June meeting is on the table, and I will show you why. So this was not super strong language. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell didn't rule out an interest rate reduction this month, but agreed that the central bank would have. So this is just a direct shot at Donald Trump. These two don't like each other at all. That is crystal clear. And it's Trump that actually appointed him. So, they don't see eye to eye at all. He says, I would have cut rates if it wasn't for the tariffs introduced by the Trump administration. So he's saying, you're the only reason I haven't already. I'm not late. You ruined it. But he does say, I wouldn't take any meeting off the table or put it directly on the table. So he's leaving the door open for July. Meanwhile, right now, President Trump just put out a short list for who is going to replace Jerome Powell next May. And one of the things the administration is looking to do is maybe by making a very early selection and telling people who the next Fed chairman is going to be, especially if it's somebody already on the Federal Reserve. That person's going to gain more power.
He'll probably get fired.
Well, they can get fired for the year in between, but they're going to get. So I don't know. It is a battle. There's a battle. And when you look at the president actually hand wrote a note, he had interest rates of every central bank in the world. And, you know, the U.S. is among the highest interest rates in the world. And he just wrote a hand note to Jerome Powell, like, look, what are you doing? Why are we at the bottom of this list? We should be, you know, way up here.
Because the Federal Reserve does not have the best interests of the United States at heart. That's what it feels like.
That's certainly what it feels like.
I mean, let's call a spade a spade. It feels like, looks like, is. I mean, there's no justification where we're at now.
Right. Walks like a duck, talks like a duck. So,
yeah.
So Trump, I got this article. And I know, listen, some of you probably like Trump. Some of you might despise Trump. There's not a lot of people in the middle that, you know, it's kind of like if you follow football. Back in the day, it was like the Dallas Cowboys, you, or the New York Yankees. You had an opinion. You loved them or you hated them.
Ain't that the truth?
There's nothing in the middle. So either which way, he happens to be the president at this point. So Trump hammers Powell again. So they're mulling the transition timeline, which is what I was talking about. But what I really want to show you is this quote right here. You should lower the rates by a lot. Hundreds of billions being lost, Trump said in the note, which was also posted to social media with further commentary from the president saying that being a central banker in the U.S. was, quote, one of the easiest yet most prestigious jobs in America, and they have, all caps, failed. We should be paying 1% interest or better. And there are several countries that are at 1 or 0.5% or 0% right now. So, you know, to drop this to 1% sounds like madness, and surely that will not happen in one meeting. Although don't be surprised when this catches up and bites us if we don't do what we've done in the past, which is all of a sudden have a series of emergency meetings and do deep, rapid rate cuts. So
you thinking we could do a half? You think we could do a half?
I think we could have a month somewhere in the next 3 months where we do 1.5.
Wow.
They're so far behind. It's stupid. It's ridiculous.
Well, you could have wrote that letter completely different. And that is, you could have wrote it and said, it looks like the Federal Reserve Bank is more interested in making itself profit than it is than spurring growth in the economy, because that's roughly $400 billion of profit, Tom, that's going someplace. And by the way, it's never been audited, and no one knows who owns it, and no one knows where the profit goes.
And on the flip side,
there's no Doge inside at the Federal Reserve System, by the way, just so you know.
Right. On the flip side, the U.S. is going to pay over $1 trillion in interest this year on its debt. And that is for two reasons. Yes, the amount of debt has continued to increase and it's spiraling out of control, but this ranged from $200 to $280 billion a year. So to jump from that to $1 trillion is because we skyrocketed rates.
Yeah.
If we drop them back down, right, that's money the taxpayers are paying. You want to try and cut the budget? You can't cut interest. It's a mathematical fact. There is one way to cut interest. That's to lower rates and refinance our debt.
And it's called vapor money because we never get it back.
That's right.
It's gone. It's not like it's gone. You got no value out of it at all. It's gone.
So you go 1% interest, that's crazy. Well, here's a chart of the last 20 years of U.S. interest rates. So in December of 2008, the Fed rate was 0.1, not 1%, 0.1%. Where it stayed 0.1, 0.2, 0.1, 0.2 for 8 years. We never got close to even 1%. We never got close to 0.5% for almost a decade. Then we had this quick, rate hike. And then, they waited too long, and then you'll see emergency rate hike is down to 0 in one. We went from, 1.5 to 0 in one meeting. So that's why I say, and you can see back here, we went from 2, very quickly to 0. So this is what they've done. They wait too long, and then they're desperate, and then they take desperate measures. There's no, with this gigantic ladder up, it plateaued at the top, so they waited too long here. They did a few little cuts, and now they're waiting too long again. It's foolishness. And so here's another couple of years. In addition to this nearly decade at basically 0%, we had another 2 full years before these rates started to tick up. We were refinancing our debt at like 0.5%. So imagine, $25 trillion at 0.5%. Or $25 trillion at 4.5%. That's an 800% increase. Now, it doesn't work exactly like that. The debt, some of it's short-term, mid-term, long-term, and all that kind of stuff. But you get my point. I mean, this is now creating a scenario where we spend more money on interest than we do on national defense.
Did you see what went up today, Tom?
What?
First class mail. Guess how much it is?
Oh, they raised the rate for a stamp?
Yep.
I don't even know. They got the forever stamps. I don't even know how much a stamp is anymore.
Well, I hope you bought a whole bunch of forever stamps. 73 cents.
Yep.
Do you remember when it was a nickel?
I know. That's gone up beyond belief. I'm real split on that. I'm split between the fact that it's gone up so drastically on one side, but on the other side, the fact that you can get something from here to there for 73 cents. So I have like two opinions on that. Of course, it doesn't always necessarily get from here to there. That's a different story. Sour Melon Gaming said, Tom, are we going to keep running or pull back? I think we're going to keep running. I mean, we could have a few day pullback, and we're primed for maybe a little pullback right now, but I don't think it's going to be dramatic, and I think we're just getting going here. Alexander said, my iron sell order showed a 320% profit since I started buying in the 3s. Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. So let's...
Sorry, I got to take a call. Sorry, Tom.
Okay, no problem. While George is doing that, let's get to this press release that came out, was this yesterday? Yesterday. Iron achieves mid-year target of 50 exahash. So they put this out on June 30th. Remember, they promised they would get to 50 exahash by June 30th. So they put out a press release on June 30th. Boom, they're at 50 exahash. But here's where it really gets interesting. From December of 2022, so that's 2.5 years ago, they have 50x'd. their exahash. They've gone from 1 to 50. Right? I mean, this is why I'm saying Iron and CleanSpark have separated themselves in this matter. This is what they said they were going to do, and this is what they did. And it was a tall task. I mean, in April, they were only at 40 exahash. In May, I think they were only at 41, and they got to 50. So that probably won't totally be reflected in the amount that they mined in the month of June, because a lot of this probably just came online. But for the month of July, I'm going to show you another article, because here's Iron at 50 exahash that came out yesterday. Well, 1 week ago, so a week before that, CleanSpark had put out. CleanSpark reaches 50 exahash milestone. So you've got 2 companies now at 50 exahash, and we're going to go through what the third company did. There's 3 companies that are just in size. They've separated themselves. In efficiency, I think that CleanSpark and Iron, I think they're doing, Marathon's the biggest of them all, but to me, CleanSpark and Iron are running a more efficient operation. It's their overhead's less, their cost per coin is less, their joules per terahash, they have a more efficient fleet. So, but having said that, I think, with this announcement from Marathon, we'll go through their monthly operational report because some stuff happened, but I want to go to where's the sends? Okay, so I can't find it in the body here, but right at the top, they're targeting 75 exahash by the end of the year. So you've got Marathon at about, they actually had to do some curtailment. All the heat in Texas are going to cause a bunch of these companies to have lower numbers in June. And that's probably going to happen again in July. And it's probably going to happen again in August. Right? We have certain companies that have to curtail in the winter when the weather gets extreme, and other companies like the ones, there's a massive amount of infrastructure for Bitcoin in Texas. And, these are the months where they do curtail, and you can see it had a massive impact. They mined 713 Bitcoin in the month of June versus 950 in the month of May. Now, some of that was, they said in May, we got extra lucky, because luck is just a part of the equation. They have their own mining pool, so they have the ability to get lucky or unlucky. They got extra lucky in May, but they were running at full capacity. In June, they had to do a lot of curtailment. They had to switch out for some less inefficient machines for a while they were fixing something. So there was a bunch of reasons that they pulled back. And this opens the door. Marathon's mined the most Bitcoin every single month for years now. They are giving a 1-month window here for CleanSpark or possibly Iron, but I think more probably CleanSpark, to potentially mine more than them in the month of June. And Marathon's been number 1. I think it's about 2 every single month for the last at least a year and a half, maybe 2 years. They've been number 1. I would have thought they would have maintained that position, and I think they'll quickly get it back. They might even keep it this month. We'll have to see what CleanSpark and Iron did, but 713 is a pretty realistic goal. If we go look at what CleanSpark did, 694 last month. So it's not too far-fetched. They went from 45 to 50 exahash. It's not impossible to believe that they mined more than 713 Bitcoin. So we're going to get that information shortly. And we might have an anomaly here where for 1 month, CleanSpark takes the title as the most Bitcoin mined. So for whatever that's worth, you can see the 2 that have reported, and Core Scientific doesn't actually put out a monthly operational report anymore. What they do put out, So they put this out every single day on Twitter. So I took a snapshot of June 30th because it has self-mined month to date. So they mined 187 Bitcoin in the month of June. So based on that, I'm still updating at least this one number for them, but they're not giving us any more numbers. They have made it super crystal clear. The Bitcoin portion of their business is not where the future is. It's still a bunch of revenue for them. I don't know the gross profit, but their future is in power. There's a potential buyout in the works. CoreWeave is looking to potentially buy Core Scientific, and I'm going to show you a few price targets. I did keep those windows open this time so we can look at a few different estimates, some of which, if they happen, you know, this thing could still pull another double. If I think it's Cantor Fitzgerald, if they're right, which I don't think they are, but that's my opinion. So let's end this first poll. Has the run begun for the Bitcoin miners? 83% of you say yes, the run has begun. 17% say no, this is just another in a long line of fake outs. Really, we're a year and a half into going sideways or down for a lot of these companies. Some of them are up, but you know, it's been a mediocre year and a half. Let's put it that. While Bitcoin has been on fire, the Bitcoin miners have had a very, very mediocre performance. Some of them have had poor performance. Bitfarms. So we'll end this poll. See what you guys think. All right, because I think this is the only month we're going to be able to ask this question. You know, like I said, Marathon's almost 2 years into winning every single month as the most Bitcoin mined. But they opened the door this month. They had some curtailment. They had some issues. You can see their output dropped 25% month over month. Now, to be fair, it was up 35% month over month in the previous month. So some of that was kind of an outlier, but the door is open. Who will mine the most Bitcoin in the month of June? Should I give my answer now? I want to see what you guys vote before I give you my thoughts. So we'll wait a few minutes. We'll let you guys get to, if you're on a device where you can vote. Okay, so let's keep going because we got more. So what we're looking at from now till the end of the year, we've got Marathon targeting 75 exahash, but I want to show you CleanSpark just reached 50. However, they're targeting 60 exahash and beyond. So you've got Marathon already at 57 or 58. They're looking to get to 75 by the end of the year. You've got CleanSpark at 50. They're looking to get to 60 or beyond by the end of the year. And then we just got this press release yesterday from Iron. They just hit their target of 50. Now, unlike the other two, Iron has said at 50, we're taking a timeout. We're taking a timeout. Iron sells all their Bitcoin. They have no hodl position. They are taking all they're right now. They are very cash flow positive. They have the most efficient fleet from a joules per terahash standpoint. Their cost per coin, I believe, is the lowest out of all the Bitcoin miners. So they're kicking off a lot of cash right now. but they're taking it all and putting it into their hyperscaling / AI business. So they told us that this is not a change. This is what they said they were going to do. They were going to get to 50. By the way, again, it's worth noting in a 2.5 year period, that's almost a 50x in the size of exahash for this company. So there isn't anybody that can say they didn't do what they said they were going to do. And what they said they were going to do was pretty hard to believe. If you guys remember, back here in the middle of this area, back when this was a $200 million market cap company, to put things in perspective, take a break here. So this was about a $200 million market cap company in late 2022. That was at the bottom of the crypto winter. They are now a $3.7 billion company. So, you know, this stock has and this company have come a long way. Now, a part of that, obviously, is they've raised a lot of capital and done some stock dilution, but there's no good period to look at on this chart. We'll have to go to the other chart. But you can see, I mean, they ran from $5 to $15 in the last couple of months. Well, we can go right here. Should have this open. So if you go back to the beginning of April, so April, May, June, this is 3 months ago, to the peak we reached today, and then I'll do to the close. So at the peak of today, if you sold at the top, that's a 214% increase in 3 months. If you held on and kept it at the close, you're still up 196%. So I bought in that second tranche on April 23rd, which was this day. And that just, like I said, that was the day my MicroStrategy broke even. So my original, I'm up more than this, but from here, you know, that's 150% in 70 days. This has been, Iron is outperforming everybody from a stock standpoint, but I would caution they are now this is why I'm truly thinking of selling. This line right here, I have a blue line at 83 on the daily RSI. They've only been over this line one time in the history of the company. And now, as of today, 2 times, because they just went above this line. The other time they did this was in June of 2024, 1 year ago. They actually got to over 86. But you can see what happened next, right? It did run up a little more, but if you go to the bottom, that's a from here to here, that's a 62% pullback. That's what I'm worried about. Because it never seems to fail, right? You can do the same thing again from here to here. That's a 68% pullback. So every time we run, and you can see this is once, twice, 3 times we've run up to this basically $16 line. And every single time we've had a 60% pullback after that.
That's crazy.
That is why I'm considering, that's why I have a stop loss on, and I'm considering just outright selling it.
Really? Wow. So you think history is going to repeat itself?
Well, let's go further back because it's not just those 2 times.
So do you think these are going to each individually like run and then come back?
I think that, so the time before that, 64% pullback. That's the last time we hit this. Remember, I have this blue line on the daily RSI. When we hit this blue line, that doesn't mean it ends that day. You can see sometimes there's a couple of weeks left in the run, right? When we hit this line, we were only at this peak. We pulled back a little and actually got a little higher. But ultimately, that was only a few days here, a couple of weeks in the middle, and then 60% pullback. I just don't want to take that ride again. Now, this may be the time we break out, right? Maybe the third time's the charm and we break out above this line and just keep running. But this is a $3.7 billion market cap company. They have exactly 0 Bitcoin in HODL. They're very profitable versus the rest of the competition. They made money in the first quarter when Bitcoin was trading in the $80,000 range. So they're going to make a lot of money in this next quarter. But they do spend it all on infrastructure for high performance computing. If they get some big announcements of big contracts, they got a big award yesterday for what they're doing, but awards aren't money. They need a contract. So if they can get a big contract, they will break out of this $16 line. But I don't know that that's going to happen. Are we going to have to take the ride all over again before we have the final breakout? And I don't think everything's about to take a huge pullback. But when you see how much further irons run than everything else, I think they're ahead. They've gotten ahead of themselves. And you can see it on the daily RSI. I mean, this is the second highest they've ever been in the history of their company right now today, in the history of their company on the daily RSI. They've only had one other day. Now, they've only been around for a few years. So, but, you know, that's 700 or 800 days. This is the second highest overbought it's ever been.
Do you think this is because it's such a small market cap that they can do this, Tom?
Well, I mean, some of it is the fact that it's a smaller market cap, but, right, I mean, you're not going to get this kind of run on a, although, you know, I say that, and then you go look at Nvidia, and you know they're starting to make a push towards $4 trillion. Right? We went from no company in history being $1 trillion. Now we're marching towards $4 trillion. It's crazy. But yes, the smaller you are, the easier this is to do. And by the way, they just went in the last 2 months. They went from 40 to 50 exahash, right? So they're doing a great job at promoting who they are, what they do, what they're looking to do going forward. They do what they say they're going to do. It's why I bought the stock. But at some point, you know, if I look at some of these other daily RSIs, I mean, just keep this in perspective. Like, look where this is. And when I show you where other stocks are at, they're just not here. So if you go to like Marathon, they're not at 80. They're at 54, right? They're practically neutral on the daily RSI, not at a historically overbought level. In other words, there's lots of room for them to run right back up to, well, this is, I'm going to do that right there at around 75. That gets you back to where they ran in November. But, I mean, look, in December of 2023, this got up to 90. Marathon got up to 90 on the daily RSI. So, you know, here's that 80. A lot of these, this is 70. There's a natural line at 70, and you can change this, but the default is 70 because most regular stocks are basically starting to get overbought at 70 on the daily RSI. But I always look at the small cap, high growth stocks, particularly the Bitcoin mining stocks. I look at that number as 80. And you can see here at 80, it was overbought and it crashed. Here at 80, that corresponded with this day and it crashed. Here, you know, look at this. 92. So for Marathon to be at 55, I mean, let's say it runs up to 85. That would be, you know, it's done more than that many times. That would not be unreasonable. that's a run from maybe, that could easily be from 15 to 25 or $30. So that's a lot of room left to run. Whereas Iron just ran from $6 to $15 in the last 3 months. So they're in very different positions. And if you look at the rest of them, you'll see Riot's higher, but they're at 66. They're nowhere near. And again, you're going to see this line at around 80 with some outliers. 88, I think, was their high here back in February of 2021. Then they got to, 85. And then it's been a while. They've been stuck at around 80, 78 to 80 they top out, but they're nowhere near that right now. So they could keep running. There's room for them to keep running. With CleanSpark, there's room for them to keep running. With, I'll go to extreme example. Bitfarms just bounced off the bottom. I mean, if they were a week ago, they were almost oversold, this is the reason I didn't do the trade. And after one day, I'm kicking myself because Bitfarms was flat and Hive was up 15%. But you can see in the short term, Bitfarms just had a bullish crossover on the daily, on the MACD, and they're not even at neutral on the daily RSI. So for as much selling pressure as there is, I think they're due for a little run up. With that said, I think there's going to be another retest. They have an incredibly strong line, and I don't think they're going to cross it. And I'll show you what it is, in my opinion. This line here at 68 cents. I mean, they got down to this in April. They got down to it again in late June, just a week ago. But that held, and they've run up. This doesn't look like a lot, but this line held, and they ran up 21% in a couple of days. So I do think this is a strong line of support. And if we get back down to 68, I'm more likely to buy. Now, the question is, should I sell at 84 and buy at 68? I don't know the answer to that. So far, I've done nothing. But you can see, I mean, look how much room there is left to run. This from a technical standpoint looks like it's just about to start running. Now, I know Riot's got to sell 70 million shares, so there is a limit to how much this thing can run because there's a lot of sell pressure on it. But having said that, if we only have to go back to yesterday, Bitfarms was up 12.6%. It was the best performing Bitcoin miner out of all the Bitcoin miners yesterday. I mean, that's just out of left field on good volume. Bitfarms did announce something yesterday, and I want to talk about this for Sour Melon Gaming because it's one of his top 5 all-time favorite topics. Let me get to it. It finally happened. It finally happened. With votes for totaling 202 million common shares and 41 million against, shareholders voted in favor of a special resolution to approve a future consolidation of the common shares on the basis of one post-consolidation common share for up to 10 pre-consolidation common shares. So that's a 10-to-1 reverse stock split that they are authorized to do. But listen to the next part. If and at such time following the date of the meeting up to and including June 30th, 2027. They've given themselves a 2-year window, and I really think this is just a safety net that they had to put in place in the event that ultimately things really do go the wrong way. They're now authorized to do this. They don't have to have a special board meeting. They've got a 2-year window to get themselves either substantially above $1 or do a reverse stock split. So, as may be determined by the board of directors of the company in its sole discretion. So, they're not saying they're doing this. This is not a vote to do this, but this is a vote to approve. They are now allowed to do this for the next 2 years. So those of you who have been calling for a reverse split, we got one step closer to that happening at their annual meeting yesterday. The rest of these resolutions on their annual meeting was pretty humdrum. I mean, they got PricewaterhouseCoopers as their auditors. I trust their financials. Everybody on the board got reelected overwhelmingly. So not much else news here, but that was, something we've been speculating. And I know Sour Mountain Gaming, you've been calling for that for a while now. So let's see these results. Who will mine the most Bitcoin in June? Right now, we've got Marathon at 45%, CleanSpark at 36%, and Iron at 18%. So it's going to be really close. It's going to be, and I don't know that we're going to get another one of these months. It depends on how much curtailment Marathon has to do during the summer. I'm surprised it's gotten to the point where there's going to be a super close race, but I think CleanSpark's going to steal this 1 month. I think they're going to mine just a few more than Marathon, and they're going to take first place this month. That's my gut feeling. That is by no means a guarantee. I mean, we'll go back to the chart. It's so close. They mined 694 last month. The difficulty level was harder in June. There's one less day in June, but they added 4.5 exahash. Right? Because I got to fill this in. They haven't reported yet, but
they said, what? Blocks run was 211. It's already reported. Did you hear me?
For CleanSpark?
No, for blocks were 211, so multiply it.
But is that CleanSpark? I thought that was Marathon.
No, that's Marathon.
Yeah, so I know Marathons. They mined 713.
Oh, well. And you don't think CleanSpark doesn't know how many they mined?
Well, they're going to put their monthly operational report out in the next few days. They usually do it on like the third day of the month. So,
well, if they're going to beat them, I would imagine they'll send it tomorrow. If they're not going to beat them, wait, we're still open on Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Oh, they could be. If they released it on Thursday, that could go wild.
So they added 4.4 exahash, whereas Marathon, due to curtailment and taking some machines offline, they actually ran less in the month of June. So I think it's going to be razor tight. But I'm going to give the nod to CleanSpark. It would just be fun to have 1 month in the middle of this multi-year run where Marathon's just a winner every single month, to see somebody else steal first place for a month. So those are my thoughts, but I do think it will be very close. And we'll find out.
Look at the difference, though. 30.7 in the month of May, 23.8 for Marathon in the month of June. You're right. Dude, can you imagine what an unbelievable success story CleanSpark actually is?
I think they are a standout company. It's a huge success story. I like CleanSpark. To me, CleanSpark and Iron are the two biggest success stories in this space so far, in my opinion. And they have different business models. So some of it is, which one do you like better? But, I own both of them because I don't know which business model is going to end up being better. But I do think, both of these companies, and they both within a week of each other, just announced that they're at 50 exahash. So I can fill that in here as well. We know they're at 50 exahash. So, hang
on, I might have to make an Uber. Looks like I got to send some propane to Barry. I'm asking him if I can Uber it to him. He's in Donner's Pass.
You're going to Uber him some propane? Is this real?
No, it's not real.
What's happening right now?
I think it's funny. No, he ran out. It looks like he ran out of propane. He's hiking. He likes to hike. Remember he did the
Oh,
Appalachian?
right.
Now he's going on the other side. I don't know what the name of the trail is. Maybe is it Pacific Trail or what, a Pacific Coast Trail or? Oh, that's a road. Yeah, I took the road, not the trail.
Barry, I
I
haven't
can't
left my
imagine.
house
Can you
in like
imagine doing
40
that?
hours, so
It's like, I can't even imagine.
I can't imagine either.
I mean, Barry like hikes probably what, 15 to 20 miles a day?
That's awesome.
Failed to fetch. Why would it say failed to fetch? What's your signal like, Barry?
So let's end this poll. We're going to see.
Yeah, I was right.
By the time we next talk, I think we'll know the answer to this question. And certainly by next Tuesday members only live stream, we will know the answer to that question. Because sometimes Iron can be a little slow about putting their results out. And they just put actually two press release out in the last couple of days. So we'll see. They might space it out. And then you've got Riot in a distant fourth, right? They were at 35 exahash. They're not going to be much more than that. So that's 15 exahash. They're actually further behind the next closest than the next closest company has in total, right? From there, we drop. Core stopped reporting, so we don't know. Bitfarms stopped reporting, so we don't know. Bitfarms was around 19.5. Core was around 18, but again, they have stopped reporting, so we have no way to know. It goes down to Cypher at 13.5 and BitDeer at 13.7. So you can see, like, these companies, and some of these companies have big growth plans. In fact, Hive made a big announcement. Hut made a big announcement, but not as Hut. So we're going to go through that. They are a pure energy play at this point. They are out of the Bitcoin mining business. They own 80% of a subsidiary that mines Bitcoin. I think the way this works is they're giving their entire hodl to that company and all of their Bitcoin mining operations to that company. And that company is going to lease back the space to mine it all. I think that's how that's going to work. And then they're doing a merger with Griffin so that that subsidiary company can be its own publicly traded company. And that will be a new Bitcoin mining company. So we will get to add a publicly traded Bitcoin mining company to this list. We lost 4, one of which was Hut, but what was Hut will now be, when they merge with Griffin, I think they're going to be called US Bitcoin Mining, and that will be a publicly traded company. And I would say it's highly likely that they will put out a monthly operational report, and they put out a report today and yesterday. So let's look at a couple of these. This is Hut 8, both of these, but they're really Hut 8 and US Bitcoin Mining. Okay, Hut 8 energizes Vega data center. 205 megawatt facility. This is a big deal for them because this can support 15 exahash of next generation ASIC miners. They already have the deal to put these 15 exahash of miners in place, and they have an option to buy them. Now, I assume all that is going to flow through. Let's see if they mention US Bitcoin in here or not. The other one that I'm going to show you does. But okay, Bitmain is the client for the full 15 exahash. So again, right now they're representing Hut is now an energy data center play. Bitmain is going to fill this entire facility up with 15 exahash worth of ASIC miners. Hut 8 will have the option to buy all those miners. So what I suspect that really means is that US Bitcoin so here they go. American Bitcoin Corp. The structure gives Hut 8 the ability to convert the deployment into self-mining capacity for its Bitcoin mining subsidiary, American Bitcoin Corp. So that's the subsidiary that's going to merge with Griffin, and then we're going to have another legit publicly traded company, because at that point, American Bitcoin mining should be somewhere around 25 exahash. So you can see supporting growth in its scale from 10 exahash to 25 exahash. So that could happen by the end of this year or early next year. So American Bitcoin mining, which doesn't exist yet, but will via Griffin, which will cease to exist, is going to be at 25 exahash. Now they're going to be all of which will be hosted by Hut 8. So they will pay a hosting fee because that now is Hut 8's business. They're a data center. So the break is, I think there's a super clear break. And then this announcement came out, which I was really surprised at. I don't know if this was yesterday or today. So this is Hut 8 filed this with the SEC. An unregistered sale of equity. On June 24th, American Bitcoin Corp., so that's the subsidiary we were just talking about, a majority-owned subsidiary of Hut 8, entered into a common stock purchase agreement for a private placement with certain accredited investors. Purchase agreement, the company agreed to sell and issue the purchaser shares of the company's Class A common stock for gross proceeds of $200 million, up to a maximum of $250 million if it gets oversubscribed. So the first closing of the private placement occurred on June 27th. The company sold 11 million shares for an aggregate of $220,059,080. I think that works out. What did that work out to? It was an even number. Be like $20 a share. Yes. $29.58. Yeah, I think this was $20 a share, which means nothing to us because we're going to go through all the share information. This is not a publicly traded company yet, which is why this is an unregistered. So essentially, Hut 8 just raised under the radar here $220 million. And what are they going to do with it? First thing is $10 million worth of those shares were sold in consideration of Bitcoin in lieu of cash. So they accepted 10 million in Bitcoin. So if we're questioning if they're keeping their HODL stash, it would seem like not only are they keeping it, they're adding to it. The company intends to use the net proceeds to fund its strategic and Bitcoin accumulation goals, which may include, but are not limited to, the purchase of Bitcoin and or miners. So we're going to have to wait a little while until this merger happens and until, I guess, the next quarterly update, we'll get an update on how much Bitcoin they still have. But this seems to strongly indicate to me that they had over 10,000 Bitcoin, and it seems like they kept them. They held them. And now they're trying to add to their HODL position. So this company, isn't available to us yet. And I would caution you, the math looks really bad on this. I don't think there's an opportunity to get into Griffin right now and participate in the win on this, because I think Griffin's stock is going to get destroyed when this merger happens. I'll redo the math on this, but on the surface, that's what it looked like to me, because I think American Bitcoin will own 98% of the outstanding shares of the new company. So essentially, it's the whole thing. So not financial advice, and I'll try and do the math on it, but it looks to me like Griffin is not a buy. It's at this point just a vehicle for this other company to go public. In the meantime, Bitcoin's been running back up a little bit here since the stream started. So that is nice to see. And you can see, Oh, this is the 15 minutes, so this is super small. I'm going to go to the 1 day and just look at this before we go to the next thing.
Stream Thursday, correct? 4:15, 20, 4:20.
Later is better for me on Thursday.
You want to do like 4:30?
Let's do 4:30
Okay.
on Thursday. All right. So when I'm looking at the 1 day, and again, you know, the technicals are just one piece of the puzzle, and these are only a few of the numbers, but I tend to look at these. You can see it looks like we're losing bullish momentum on Bitcoin here.
What's
on the MACD.
volume, Tom?
Let me add the volume. So, I mean, the weekends, the volume falls off the map, but not abnormally high, not abnormal, maybe a little bit lower than average. And we're creeping back down. We're at almost exactly 50. We're at 50.59 on the daily RSI, almost exactly neutral. I got a line here at 41 that we seem to test on a regular basis. So we could have a little bearish crossover and a little bit of a rundown over, you know, anywhere from a few days to a few weeks. But I do think once we're through with that, if that happens, there could be some buying opportunities. I will buy if that happens, because then I believe the next run, we do go past the all-time high. That is my thought. I think in July historically is a good month for Bitcoin. I think that's actually irrelevant. I think that that's just happenstance, but it is what it is. But I do think we're going to finish strong. I think we're going to hit a new all-time high in July. Let's see what you guys think. So will Bitcoin hit a new all-time high in July 2025? Put that in for clarity in case anybody...
Tom, how close are we to $80 billion in market value with Bitcoin?
Oh, we're way over that. We're in the trillions.
No, daily.
Oh,
volume?
in volume?
Yeah, daily volume.
Daily volume. Let's go see if we can see that here.
Because I have a theory that signals the altcoins. 80, 79 to 84. I know, it's a long ways off.
Well, that's a good thing you bring that up, because that is kind of the next topic. And then I'm going to show you guys some coins and let's discuss what we think. Let me show you this article first. Bitcoin carried crypto markets in 2025's first half as altcoins crumbled. What's next? So when you look at the numbers, there can be no doubt. Although the market cap of the entire cryptocurrency universe has been pretty steady, it is because of Bitcoin. Some of the big altcoins are down a little. Some of the smaller ones are down a lot. And when I say a lot, I mean 70 or 80 or 90%. But they compare some of the big ones here, and you'll see performance was starkly uneven. Bitcoin gained 13%, while Ethereum and Solana declined 25% and 17% respectively. So, you know, that's a 30% or more difference between those. And those were not the worst performers by any stretch of the imagination. There's a lot of these that were down, like I said, 60, 70, 80, some 90% from their peaks in the first half of the year. So for the altcoins, it's been a little bit of a nightmare. I mean, if you guessed right on a few, there was some nice runs. So if you played everything perfect, maybe you caught some runs. But if you've been accumulating altcoins, it's not going well so far. Sourmelon Gaming, see you later if you're still here. He said he's got to run on family vacation. Hope you have a good time. So if we look, I want to go back to Be nice if they had a 30-day column, but I have a bunch of these open that I'm going to look at. Because I have some coins. I have some coins that we talked about. We looked at a list last week. If anybody, now is the time. If you have an altcoin that you are interested in, let's talk about it. I asked ChatGPT. I said, give me a list of altcoins using two criteria. That they have a strong use case and they have a strong base of followers. Because to me, those are the ones that run.
You mean a strong community?
A strong community. So a strong use case and a strong community. If they have those two things, so they actually ChatGPT gave me a bunch of recommendations. So I want to show you what they gave me. And then if you guys have any recommendations, let's talk about them. And again, this is not financial advice, and I haven't bought any of these yet, but here's what ChatGPT said. Render, which I hear out of all of these, I hear more talk about Render than anything else. So I don't know about you guys, but that I see videos on that relentlessly. So that one was on my radar. The rest of these really weren't.
So, Tom, tell me about Render for a second.
Okay, so let's go to Render. So we got a $1.5 billion market cap. The Render network is and this is totally fascinating, and I don't know if it's going to work or not. The Render network is a leading decentralized GPU compute platform for applications ranging from 3D rendering to machine learning and generative AI. The network connects node operators looking to monetize their idle GPU compute power with artists and developers looking to scale intensive 3D rendering works. So this is an absolute use case. I mean, they're trying to do, doesn't mean it's going to work, but they have a clear use case for what they're doing here. They have a very dedicated community. I know because I see them by far more than any of these other ones I'm going to mention. I don't know. Let me know if you guys have heard of Render. Okay, so that's, what do you think of this, George? Thoughts?
We know about it. I just wanted to know what you knew about it.
I figured you knew about this one.
Yeah, it's supposed to like, hang on, I can tell you what it's supposed to do.
What is it supposed to do?
I just don't like the concept of it, if that makes any sense.
You
understand what I'm saying?
You don't like this.
No, I don't like the concept of it. So you're saying that it's for art?
Well, 3D, yeah, they're saying
3D
artwork, 3D renderings. I mean, there's a lot of different kind of 3D renderings, but yeah, I guess.
I mean, my thing is, there's real no money in, you know what I mean? There's no real, I mean, yes, there's a use case for it, but there's no real money, but it's still going to have a run. Don't get me wrong.
So you feel like there is a use case, but there's just not a lot of money in that use case, because that's an important distinction as well. So I'll try and refine the parameters the next time I ask and add a few things.
Who cares about 3D artwork? Do you understand what I'm saying?
I mean, I don't care about it, but I can't even draw a stick figure. So this certainly would not be a product for me.
What is it now? What's the price of Render?
It is at $3.06. Its recent high was $5.48, but if I go out,
the buy was anything under $4.
This got to $10.49 in December. So
right, and I'm going to tell you, yeah, I told you this is why this is so hard this year. Okay, you ready for this? Is the price prediction? You ready for how crazy it is?
This is the Render price prediction as per your undisclosed sources?
Yes.
Let's hear it.
Render, $100.
Get out of here.
$100. That's the price prediction.
So this is why I'm looking, because, and I think you got to pick 5 or 8 or 10, because they're not all going to hit. But if you pick 10 and one of them hits, you win. If you go 0 for 10, you lose. But if Render does that and all the rest of my picks are wrong, I'm still break even or up. And you hope to do better than that, because in alt season, I mean, high tide rises all boats. And we have seen that in previous alt seasons, even junk runs.
You want to hear a crazy one? Have you heard of eCash?
No.
XEC.
So let's put it in here. XEC.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5.5 zeros and then a 3.
I'm going to do this. XEC against the
XEC, yep.
This pair is against the USDT. One this says this one's bigger, a 7, but it's only a 72.
Okay, so this 1, 2, 3, 4. So this has gotten beat up, right? You want to hear craziness on this one?
Is this I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros and then a 1836.
Yes. Yep. That's it.
I mean, this is still
okay. This one right here is supposed to go to $1.
Yeah, well, if that goes to $1, I can be wrong on all the rest of them and be rich.
But what? So how many coins are there?
Let's see.
What's the market cap at $1?
See if I can.
Isn't it 21 trillion?
On this thing.
So wouldn't it be $21 trillion?
They took me away from CoinGecko and brought me to Gecko Terminal here, which does not have the same format, so I'm having trouble.
See, but I don't think that eCash is doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Won't let me go back.
What happens is these communities go away, Tom. You know?
I would be super scared. To me, this is like, okay, so here, liquidity, $72,000, 16,000 holders, $1.5 million market cap. So this is your ultra small cap. And some of the ones that ChatGPT recommended were very small cap. I'm not sure they were this small.
Wait, eCash has a total market cap of 378 million.
So what's happening?
What's happening overall is that the big money got into crypto.
How come mine's showing such a dramatically different thing than yours? Am I in the wrong thing?
I'm thinking you might have the wrong one.
That's the hard part about these very small ones. If you can find them at all, I'm going to type in eCash instead of the ticker. I got Epic Cash, Electric Cash, eCash, and everything else is not even trading like on DEX. I can't find it.
I find it at Live Coin Watch. It's on like Metal C or something like that. But it has a decent market value. I mean, you know what I mean?
And where can you buy? This is the other part of the equation. Where can you buy these?
That's a funky one. That's like an exchange off of an exchange. But you can buy it at Binance.
You can buy it at Binance.
TX and then Hotcoin Global.
I'm never going to find
that.
Oh,
no, they get crazy, Tom. And then to buy them, the burn fees are insane.
This is where I was.
But like, you know, here's a great coin that I had a great project that just the Jasper, Jasmy.
Oh yeah.
Jasmy. Okay. That could get to $1.
Let's look at that because that should be on our list. This is another what's the exact
JASMY.
This is another one. I see all over the place. So
And then
I don't know anything about it. I just see it everywhere.
Yeah, this I don't know how they beat that back up to what the low was. This is back to the low of last last, what do they call it?
So this got up to almost 5.8 cents, and it's now
Yep.
at just under 1.3 cents. So this is down. This is one of these down 80, 90% deals. And this is super popular. I mean, this is a $618 million market cap. That is not insignificant, but that leaves a lot, right? It could 10x and still only be only $6 billion. This one's going on the list.
So there's one more. It's called XPR. And everybody, there's some crazy people out there that think that this is going to be the XRP network, XPR. And it's only
XPR?
Yeah, it's
This is for dyslexic XRP people?
Huh?
It's for dyslexic XRP people.
Yep, absolutely.
XPR network. $79 million market cap. This is.
And I think that this is going to go down before it goes back up. I think they're going to beat it back down to the low of last cycle.
Look at where this got in the last cycle.
I know.
This got to 4.7 cents. Right now it's at just under 0.3 cents. So.
Yeah. And it's not a failed project. It's got it's the same use case as XRP.
You could be looking at a 15x to get to this number. Now, I don't know what was going on here at the beginning. It got all the way up to 8 cents.
See, the problem though, Tom, is I don't know if retail is going to have the money. But here's a great example of what I think is going to happen with XPR. It's going to pump like you've never seen it pump. Okay. And then someone's going to pull the rug like never before. Like you've never seen the rug pulled on a coin before that's going to be pulled on this. That's what I think is going to be the alt season. I think the alt season is going to make their run, and they're going to, focus on certain coins, and then they're going to pull the rug out of them so fast you're not even going to see it coming. You're like, oh my God, look at the volume, it's looking good. We just broke $1 billion market cap, and then before you know it, because there's a lot of people that have been sitting on these coins, okay, that they just don't want to get burned again. And so they're going to dump them.
Well, and altcoin season tends to go that way.
Yep.
Super quick run-ups, and then I mean, look
this
at
was
88. Boom, boom.
Tom, look at 88 right now. Cardano.
Go there right now.
Right now, look at the Cardano this week.
This is the 1 week. This is the 1 month.
I mean, I
the
thought
1 year.
And what you're not seeing here is it was up like, I don't know, 9%, something like that yesterday or the day before. And then look at 24 hours later, 6.25, 7 days, 30. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. Yesterday it was at 5.8 or 58.
Right. It's going all over the place. I mean, and then if you look at freaking XLM has not been at 22 cents in
it took a wild ride yesterday.
Yeah.
Over the last 2 days, it got to like $2 and like 30 cents. Am I making that up?
Yeah, you're making that up.
XRP?
Yes. XLM. Oh, no. Yeah. I'm talking about XLM.
Oh, you're talking about XLM.
Yeah, but just look at what is it. I mean, it hasn't. Before I bought a big number, I bought a large holding and I got in at like 24 cents. And I'm like, and I went way, 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 way back, right?
XLM I did notice this was hitting new, like kind of like all-time lows. Let's go there.
And they're just beating it down.
Yeah, this is getting wrecked. So, but then it scares me because then you go back, it's not all-time lows. This made its move from November. In November, it ran from 10 cents to, 54 cents. So that was its run, and now it's down to 22 cents. But, I mean, this is not trending well. So I don't know. Is this going to run back up?
Oh, I think so, yeah.
In the last bull run, it got up to 72 cents. In the 2018 bull run, it got up to 87 cents. I read the use case for this. You described it to me a little bit better. At first, I was a little leery about this, but now I kind of understand it a little better.
And so here's my theory is because this goes live in 2 weeks. That coin goes live in 2 weeks for what it was intended for. And that's a banking coin, where it would be interbank transactions.
Interbank versus XRP, which was intra-bank, intra-country. So there is a purpose, because my initial concern as I looked through this was, isn't this just kind of redundant with XRP? But it's not really. It does serve a different purpose.
Yeah.
So I won't go through all these, but I'll show you the rest of them. AKT, $272 million market cap. That's one that ChatGPT recommended. Ocean, the Ocean Protocol, $58 million market cap. A $58 million market cap. I got these open. Let me find them. So this was at 92 cents and now it's at 29 cents. And if I do the max, back in the previous bull cycle, this got up to $1.77 and it's at 29 cents right now. So 5, 6, 7, 8x. Even 10x's are super hard to come across. But this one's only $58 million. A 10x is only $580 million. That's still small. But, big risk. This is not one to put all your eggs in one basket on. And then T, I don't know how they got the ticker T, $162 million market cap, the Threshold Network. I'm not familiar. And then Mina Protocol, $205 million market cap. That was the 5 that ChatGPT recommended to me. Of course, that's not financial advice from me or ChatGPT, but I am going to look into these more. And the one that jumped off the page at me was Render, because it's that community I know is highly active. One of the members last time threw React out there to put on the list. So the Reactive Network, $7.5 million. So this is a small one. And I think this is one of the ones that just crashed. So if I look, yeah, I mean, this was at 20 cents in March, and now it's at 2 cents. So this thing's down almost 90%. And that's the whole chart. This thing didn't even come into existence until March 5th, March 4th. So it opened at around 18 cents, and then it quickly went down, and now it's down to 2.5 cents. So
let's save these, Pogo. How do you copy a message? Can you copy them? Oh, you can copy. Okay.
Pogo, I did not sell my Bitfarms yesterday. I held it, and I know it looked like a golden opportunity. It was an outlier. It was the best performing Bitcoin miner yesterday, up 12.6%, but I did not sell it. I contemplated selling that. My trade was going to be sell that and buy Hive. I talked about that on the last members only. I didn't do it. It would have been the absolute perfect time to do it, but I missed it. So we'll see. We'll see if I get another opportunity. But Bitfarms is holding up. Bitfarms is holding up. I think it's doing much better than I expected. Now, there's a lot of shares left for Riot to get rid of, so I understand there's more pain ahead in all likelihood. Pogo is saying AIOZ. Oh, that's a big list, but let's just check out a couple real quick. $353 million market cap. And this is another one. So this came into existence in April of 2021. It was up at $2.20, and it's now 29 cents. But more recently, this got up to $1.21. I mean, that's a 4x from where it is right now. Those are big moves. I mean, I know we're all looking for 100x's, but I just feel like there's two kinds of people that catch 100x, and
developers.
And there's right one of that group is 99%, and the other 1%. You just said it, George. The developer, and then people that just get randomly lucky.
I'm doing a coin, guys. I don't like to do things, out of order, and I will let you guys know. If you want to invest, you can. You don't have to. Trust me. I'm no pressure here for me. Trust me.
You don't have to. You don't if you don't want to, but get a crack. First crack, George. Early adoption.
Say that again.
Early adoption for members.
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these are the people that supported us the most, Tom.
That's right. There's no question about it.
You know what I mean? I mean, I've already printed the coin. It's already, I'm not burning anything but what I'm doing is I'm doing basically an exchange for businesses to use it as a form of currency. Here's what I think is so amazing about crypto that no one even talks about. First of all, you got to own Bitcoin. That's like, especially to do anything in crypto, you got to own Bitcoin. So what I've done is now I've leveraged my Bitcoin and I bought into a whole bunch of different altcoins. But my whole point was this: with altcoins, you can take let's say you invest in my coin, for an example. We can do projects, lock up the coins, go buy a house and flip the house and split the profit. And not only that, you can use the blockchain to see where every penny went for that. See, the reason why
accountability.
The reason why everybody's so scared of cryptocurrency is because of that big word, and it's called accountability. But here's the thing. I never could figure out a way to help out farmers until now, and you can help them out with cryptocurrencies. Because the reason why corporate farmers make more money than regular farmers is because they don't have a mortgage. They go public, they raise a shit ton of money, right? They buy the land and they don't have to pay that money. And that's the difference. And it's always been unfair that the smaller farmers had to compete with the larger farmers, because the larger farmers don't have to pay for their land because it's part of equity. And that is why farming is broken, by the way.
Pogo, let me know if this is the right TAO. Superverse, I'll have to look at some of these later. You gave me a nice list. Pogo said Hive is alive. A bunch of old jock. They even advertise a gambling site so that you can lose money whilst you study the charts. Which one is that? And then Hive's value gradually starting to get noticed. I feel you guys know I've been pounding the table, and the two things I've been dollar cost averaging into are XRP and Hive, right? And And, for the last multiple years, I was buying a lot of other things, but those are the last two to the party is XRP and Hive. And I still think, Hive just crossed $2. I would have liked to buy one more big bunch. It was at like $1.92 yesterday, but I didn't get it. And it went up huge today. But I'm going to go to a chart and show you how much room I think is left in that one. Because for as much as that had a nice day, we got to look at what everything did. I don't even think we looked at this. So this is Monday and Tuesday. Bitcoin down 1%. This is what we want to see for the rest of the year. Not necessarily that Bitcoin's red, but even on a 2-day period where Bitcoin is red, every single Bitcoin miner is up, and some of them are up huge. Hive up 15%. All of it was today. Cypher up 15%. Bitfarms 12%. Iron 9%. Continues to run. Riot 7%. Everything is green on a week in a 2-day window where Bitcoin was down. We need more of this. And what that does, if we go to the year to date, all of a sudden, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coins in the green year to date. 2 months ago, every single one of these was deep in the red. Right? I think the best coin other than CleanSpark, everything was down between 20 and 70%. Now you've got Iron. Iron's up 55% year to date. Core Scientific up 23%. CleanSpark up 20%. Bitcoin up 13%. Riot is now up in the green 10%. Cypher 6%. Marathon's getting close. They've been stubborn. I think that one's going to take a big run soon, but we'll see what happens. Down 6%. Hut's down 10%. So this chart is starting to do exactly what we were talking about that I'm hoping it will do for the rest of the year. My feeling was most of these stocks would dramatically pass Bitcoin by the end of the year. There's not going to be 100% winners, right? But, if we've got 10 or 11 stocks on here, if 8 or 9 of them dramatically outperform Bitcoin, that's a great year. That's a big win. And it's another reason to stay a little diversified because you never know which company gets bad news or whatever the case may be. You don't want to get burned on, just a one-off event. Will Bitcoin hit a new all-time high in July? 90% say yes. So this was 10 votes, so it was 9-1. We have one non-believer out there. I think yes. What do you think, George?
Yes. I think it's almost a guarantee.
July, new all-time high.
The Genius Act will pass before the end of July.
Yeah, I think there's a really good chance of that passing.
If it doesn't pass, then probably not, by the way.
You should do an altcoin 10K challenge. That's interesting. Let's hope it goes an awful lot better than the last one. I'm going to think about that.
Yeah, that could be.
That's very interesting.
Well, or we can do an alt-K 4K challenge because I got 4K left.
4K challenge, 10K challenge. That would be interesting. Really, it's just to see what the percentages.
That got up to $9,000, Tom.
Yeah.
We started at 10. We went down to 1,500. It went back up to almost $9,000. And now here we are again at $4,000.
Yeah, and the one thing we got burned on, unfortunately, we had Bitfarms in the mix on that one.
Right.
And you can see Bitfarms year to date is down 44%. BitDeer is down 48%. That's another one that I have some interest in, but one of my concerns about BitDeer is in the month of December of 2024, in a month where all the other Bitcoin miners were red, BitDeer was up 50%. It was just a wild insane outlier. So I feel like it spent the last 6 months giving all of that back to end up right where it started. You know, had they not had a 50% up month in December, would this just be flat on the year like everything else? I think that's the reason that this is so far down, but I don't know where that leaves this. This is an interesting company. They do a lot of different, this is a unique company. There's no other Bitcoin miner that has the exact same business model as BitDeer, and it seems like they're picking up a lot of momentum. Again, I don't own it yet, but I'm thinking about it. So we'll see. Maybe if I get out of my IRIN, I'll buy some combination of some of these stocks and spread it across a few and see what happens.
I'll tell you one thing. It takes forever to research these things.
It really does. And Pogo's saying TAOAA, aka Bittenser. It's one of the biggest coins in the AI space. It's huge. So I will tell you, I know nothing about this at all, but this is another one that must have a very strong community because I've seen it all over the place. So while I've never researched it, I know nothing about it. I will agree, Pogo. There's a strong community behind this. So, and you're saying this is in the AI space. I did add it just so you can see. I added it to the list with your name. So as we track these going forward, we will remember who kind of called it out and see if maybe there's some big winners in here.
We got a train, Becky.
I did not get to like 80% of this list. Just run through a couple of things real quick. Well, this is worth talking about because it's just a follow-up on a conversation we were having. Bitcoin mining difficulty sees the largest drop since 2021. And remember, that was not a natural event. China banned Bitcoin mining and the global hash rate fell off a cliff. So that is the last time we've had a drop in difficulty level by this margin. We were down a 7.5% drop in the difficulty level. So that was a massive, massive drop. Now, a lot of that was there was a lot of machines in Texas that were offline in the month of June. I don't know what's going on in July, but I will tell you instantly here, if I update, refresh, we're very early into this next adjustment, but these run about 2 weeks. So we're a couple of days in on this, and right now it's tracking for a 6% increase. So, you know, back and forth we go. But it is worth noting, for the next 2 weeks, the difficulty level just went down dramatically, which is good news for the Bitcoin miners, which means July could potentially be really good mining numbers. Some people, Pogo and BTC to 150, say go Hive. Yeah, that's the chart I meant to go to and I didn't go. Let me go show you right now why I think this is only the beginning. So I do think this, to me, this looks really good. I know there's still some poor performers in here, but this is so drastically different than it was 2 months ago. It's incredible. And just to review, this was the month of June. I mean, again, these two companies are lagging, just like on that chart, but you've got Bitcoin up 3%. You've got IRIN, and IRIN was up 74% in June versus Bitcoin's 3%. Core, 60%. Cypher, 53%. Riot, 40%. I mean, Riot has been a very quiet company. There's no hype, not a lot of big press releases. It's one of the big three from a market cap standpoint, but it is on a really, really nice run. So we'll see if that can continue. And you'll see in that time Marathon, these two usually trade in tandem. But while Riot was up 40%, Marathon was only up 11%, and it makes me feel like buying more Marathon because I do think that will follow. But the chart that I'm looking for is...
Yeah, Caspa.
So from the all... Go ahead.
Do you think Caspa's going to run, Tom?
It depends if I believe the people I watch on YouTube. Caspa is another one that has a really solid community. It's a proof of work. I see what they're doing. It's still, some of these coins, I think, if they get, they're still not on Coinbase. They're not on Robinhood. So I just think those are huge catalysts. And Caspa is one of those. To me, I thought Caspa was going to do big things. I don't own any of it yet. It's on my list. If I go back to my list, you'll see this is George's BSV, and Caspa is one I've been looking at for a long time. And, you know, it got onto my radar before this, and then Marathon about a year ago announced they're the biggest part of the Caspa proof of work network, right? They're the largest miner of Caspa. So Marathon's all in on this. I thought that would give it some tailwinds, but the altcoins have just been doing very, very poorly. So there's still a massive opportunity. If this runs, let's just take a look at it. It's done nothing. So if there's a run, it's all ahead.
Down.
Yeah, exactly. Right, this peaked. And this could have been somewhere around the time Marathon put their press release out. This got to around 20 cents, and now it's at around 7 cents. And really, you can see there's a pretty good floor at 6 cents here. Oh, man, that got down to 4 cents. That was in October of 2023. That is a long time ago now. But I think at 6 cents, there's a good floor. We're real close to the bottom of the last 2 years of trading. So, you know, this might be a good time to get into Caspa. I don't know. This is on my list to buy. You can get this at, among many other places, you can get this at KuCoin, but you can't get it on Coinbase, and you can't get it on Robinhood. And you can't get it on SoFi. And so there's a lot of places that are, you know, when they pick up these coins, I think it just gives access to a lot more people. Particularly, obviously, Coinbase is the monster in the US.
You know, you can pay money to get on these sites.
Oh, you can get your coin onto Coinbase by paying them?
Yes.
Oh, it almost seems worth it. Pogo's asking, did you sell any iron, Tom? I did not sell any iron. I did put a stop loss in case, you know, something catastrophic happens. But I think I'm going to raise my stop loss, if not just outright sell some, because I think it's time. Iron is so overbought, and I'm not saying later, you know, a year from now, it might be triple this, but at the moment, it's in historically overbought territory, and that worries me. Just go to a few more of our, actually, there's a couple of things worth talking about. Bitcoin illiquid supply climbs to over 14 million Bitcoin, reflecting strong HODL trend. Over 72% of circulating Bitcoin is now illiquid. So you can see there's going to be a supply shock because people are holding their Bitcoin. And I'm going to go to another article. I think it's this one. Yeah. Bitcoin targets 200K as profit metrics enter cautiously optimistic zone. And what I wanted to point out, Bitcoin's 98% supply in profit signals bullish sentiment, but warns of volatility and potential price correction. So that's what we looked about. I do think in the next 3 days or 1 or 2 weeks, we could have a little correction, but you've got 98% of the Bitcoin supply in profit. And they're talking about analysts predicting Bitcoin going to 200,000 this year, 2025. So I'm seeing more and more and more. This is probably the 4th or 5th article I've brought up where they talk about Bitcoin hitting 200,000 in 2025. Now, that might be one good argument that it's not going to hit 200,000, because once you start to get consensus around something, but I do think it leaves an awful lot of room to the upside. I think our price targets of 150 or 175,000 are very much in play, in my opinion. Last one. Last poll of the day. Will Bitcoin get to 175,000 somewhere 2025, 2026? I think this run is going to take longer than normal. Typically, the bull market would be over by the end of 2025 if everything followed along exactly to plan. But this cycle, you know, everybody always says it's different, but you can point to like 200 tangible things that are dramatically different this time around than the last bull market. One of which is just forget the 11 ETFs, just the BlackRock ETF is the most successful. The BlackRock Bitcoin ETF is the most successful ETF in the history of all ETFs ever launched, and it's not even close. It's so far ahead that if it didn't exist, Fidelity, which is like 1/5 the size, that would have been the most successful ETF in the history of all ETFs, except BlackRock's doing 5 times better than it. So that's how much, and we'll go take a look at. You can see, I mean, they have $52 billion of inflows. Fidelity has $12 billion of inflows, right? That would be historic if not for the fact that BlackRock had done this. So, you know, this is just one thing. And you guys know the list. I should make an actual list of all of the catalysts, because I think there's at least 25 catalysts, any one of which somebody would have said, well, if that happens, Bitcoin's going to take off. So that's why I think this time is different. I think it is going to last longer. I don't think we're going to have a crypto winter. And I'll show you just quickly. This is when you know it's time to buy. This was an article from April 21st. Chart of the week. Dire picture for Bitcoin miners. Dire picture. This is from April 21st. So I'm going to go back. From the time that article came out, April 21st. Iron's up 177%. Look, this was literally the absolute bottom. Here's April 21st. So Riot up 80%. And I will tell you, I saved this in a tag called Doom, because in a 3-day period, every single article from April 21, 22, 23, every single thing was absolute gloom and doom. If you look at, let me go to this. On May 6th, if you go back a month, that's April 6th, we were in extreme fear at a level of 3. This is the second lowest on the extreme fear level in the history of the reading. So it was just pure panic. And so I saved we talked about this article saying this marks the bottom right here in real time when it happened. So I saved it to come back to it. Here, this is another article, April 16th, a week earlier. Bitcoin's true capitalization zone is 65K. Expects the 50,000 area to offer strong support. Well, guess what? The $100,000 area is offering strong support. So again, this was the bottom. This was on April 22nd. Wall Street keeps warning of a sell America trade, and here's why. So for this one, I'm going to show you a different chart. So April 22nd, sell America. Okay. Let's go to the S&P 500. V-shaped recovery. 100% V-shaped recovery. And in fact, you can see we've now blown by the previous all-time high, and we're running up. We're at new all-time highs 2 months after they said sell America. So I just think it's important to go back and remember this, because sometimes it just, these were screaming like, buy. This is max panic. This is time to buy. And I did. So I hope a lot of you guys did too. I know a lot of you did. You know, and it was hard to buy at this point. Number one, because everything was gloom and doom and pain. And number two, we were years into buy the dip, which gets exhausting. But this one was a real opportunity. And it played out that way. So we'll see where we go from here, but I'm very optimistic. That's what I would say. Wow. So this is a pretty big change. The last 4 times we've done this exact poll, whether on the members only or the everybody stream on Friday, this has been very, very close to 50-50. 4 times in a row. This time, it's 100% think yes, we're going to get to 175K. And I think yes, that's my number. Right? About 6 or 7 or 8 months ago, I moved my number. I came into this a year and a half ago thinking we'd run to 150. Then I changed it to 175. Obviously, you know, part of all this is just a guessing game. But I think there's every fundamental reason to believe that we have a lot of room to the upside. So Pogo saying, I think BTBT will go insane if ETH can start pumping hard. So on that note, I think I have this open. Let me just see, as long as you're talking about that. BitDigital announces strategic shift to Ethereum treasury and staking operations. They have 100% abandoned in this press release, which just came out last week. They said they are either going to wind down or sell off 100% of their Bitcoin operations. They had 417 Bitcoin. They're going to convert those to Ethereum. They hold 24,000 Ethereum. In addition to that,
I gotta go, Tom.
All right, George, have a great night.
I'll see you guys. Thanks for everybody.
Good night. Thank you. In addition to that news, they went and raised $150 million to buy Ethereum. So they're 100% out of Bitcoin. They are no longer a Bitcoin miner. They're all in on staking Ethereum. they have a 100% wholly owned subsidiary that is, I'll go back to that because they've rebranded themselves. White Fiber Inc. is a 100% wholly owned subsidiary of Bit Digital. That is the high performance computing data center part of their business. So it's technically, they own the company that does that, but Bit Digital itself doesn't do that. Bit Digital is only going to buy Ethereum and stake Ethereum. That is their new business model, 100%. So you're right, whoever said that, and I think it was Pogo. If ETH can start pumping, then BTBT, Bit Digital, should pump along with it. So Alim, that you was asking, what are my thoughts on BTBT? Those are my thoughts, and I should add them to, I have this other list going. This is incomplete because things change so fast, but these are the companies that are treasurying Bitcoin. I have about $45 billion worth, and there's a bunch more that I've saved that I haven't added to the list yet, but you'll see XRP has 3 companies, and that doesn't count. I need to add Bit Digital to this list. So that's 4 companies treasuring I need to add that to this list. So XRP has 3, Ethereum has 1, SharpLink, and I need to add a second one, which is Bit Digital. So, and there may be more out there. I'm sure there's more out there. Solana, class over $500 million. They're going to have a treasury of Solana. Binance Nano Labs announced they're going to do $1 billion treasury of Binance's coin. So in addition to just Bitcoin, you're seeing publicly traded companies start to treasury other coins, altcoins. Now, nowhere near the scale, obviously, that is happening with Bitcoin, but all of this is good news for the entire crypto sector and the crypto universe. So I like to see all of this. Yeah, we're running way over, so thanks for sticking with me, guys. And it looks like we have a very optimistic outlook right now. 100% think we're getting to 175 by the end of this run, whether that's in 2025 or 2026. So I think we're right. I agree with that. I think George agrees with that as well. So I want to thank all you guys for joining us on the Tuesday members only live stream. Hopefully we'll see you guys. This week, Friday, is a holiday in the United States. The markets are closed, so we're going to do our stream on Thursday at 4:30 is what we said. So we will send out a message verifying that just in case something happens in the middle. But that is the plan as of this time. Thank you guys so much for being members. Thanks for your support. I hope your portfolio is looking good, and I will see you guys on Thursday.